Hello there, podcast listeners. You picked a great episode. Crystal Cossette is our guest today, owner and proprietor of Sugarplum, as well as a theater favorite in the Fargo-Moorhead area. She tells a great story about her mom packing heat, and we get into the nitty-gritty of what makes a cake a cake. Plus, Tucker and I wax philosophical about product placement in movies and Chuck E. Cheese. All of this and more on this episode of JJ Meets World.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirls as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
One of my favorite odd food combinations is Mexican Village hot sauce, chips, yellow corn tostada chips, and strawberry yogurt. And I don't eat them together. We'll take a bite of one, bite of the other. Bite of one, bite of the other.
Little acidic, little basic.
Yeah, pretty much. And people who see me eat this are disgusted immediately. They go, "Gah. Think of what's being combined in your gutty works right now." That's awful. And I think everyone's got that one or two, food combination that they just get into.
Little savory, little sweet.
Yeah. I know people who are like, "Ooh, I love buttered noodles with frozen peas in them." I'm like, that sounds disgusting.
I like dipping my pizza crust in Pepsi.
What?
Yeah.
To each his own, I guess,
Yeah,
though, right?
as long as the pizza crust is nice and doughy so it soaks up the Pepsi.
There are certain things that I think are kind of universal in groups where everyone has one friend who likes to dip their French fries in a milkshake, right? Everyone has one odd duck who combines ranch and ketchup together to make some kind of dipping sauce. But what amazes me is that there are folks out there who never experiment with their food at all.
Yeah.
So while you've got the oddballs, you have the other side of the coin, which is the folks who never, ever, 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 ever do anything with their food.
I have a theory about that. Do you think that if someone does not experiment with their food at all, do you think that that is a sign that that person has never been poor? Because like if you've been poor and you're like, I got to eat something and I got some rice and some jelly, you're going to experiment and see if rice and jelly go well together, right? So you're open to trying new things out of necessity.
There's an episode of The Simpsons where Marge goes away like on a vacation and Homer has to fend with the kids and they're like, "Dad, there's no food here." He goes, "What are you talking about? We have plenty of food. There's delicious cloves and we'll pour some water on it." And then he adds something else and he takes a big spoonful and he goes, "Let's go get your mother." And I think that you probably have something to that. And I don't know if it's necessarily they've never been poor, but maybe it's that they've never had that moment in their life where they've had to fend for themselves. So whether it's because of economics or they had neglectful parents, or you ended up at your grandpa and grandma's house and everything tastes like styrofoam to them. So you have to figure out a way to you want macaroni and cheese, but there's none of the essential ingredients. There's no blue box of Kraft up in the closet. There are some things, though, that are a hard no. So speaking of Kraft macaroni and cheese, I've known people who substitute the milk for water in a pinch, and that is no, not happening. I know some people who, when they make their tomato soup, don't use milk. They're like, "I'll just put water in there. It's all the same anyway."
I've done that out of necessity, but yeah.
So, and
am I supposed to dump this grilled cheese in, JJ?
Well, if you got a grilled cheese, why don't you melt the cheese and turn it into a liquid dairy product?
Notice
again.
I like to dump mine.
It. You dump it in there.
Dump it in there.
What do you think? Okay, here's another thing too that maybe just is a Midwestern thing, but when I have soup and sandwich, I dip my sandwich into the soup.
Oh yeah, that's what it's for.
Every sandwich. That's how I do it. But I don't think I see people do that in media. Like, I don't think I remember watching a television show where, someone's dipping their sandwich in. Cops dip donuts into coffee. We all know this. But are people dipping their sandwiches?
Well, I just don't know if media is the best way to go by it, because if we're just supposed to believe what we see on TV, all scientists are sexy. Any like fictional TV show where it's like, we got a bunch of scientists, they're almost always sexy.
I would say all scientists in the law enforcement industry are sexy.
Criminal forensic scientists.
Right. But like one of my favorite movies growing up, Richie Rich, Professor Keenbean was a scientist and he was not sexy.
Do you remember how like awesome it was to watch? Oh, look at that little bee robot.
Yeah,
that's so
that's
awesome.
amazing.
Those graphics are fantastic.
I judge my friendship with people based on whether they can name that character or not.
Well,
Professor Keenbean.
I'm glad you didn't ask me to do that, because I wouldn't have been able to name him. I can't remember the name, but I mean, I watched that movie a lot as a kid.
There's the evil bodyguard character who's helping John Larroquette steal the family riches. At one point goes, "Oh, Keenbean." And the way that actor delivers the line, because he's got a gun and he's chasing him like through the lab. And Robo Bee is the name of the bee. I remember being blown away by those special effects because it was completely computer generated.
Yeah. And that a kid could have his own McDonald's in his house.
Mm-hmm. You've got your own McDonald's. That was great product placement.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't companies get smarter about where they place their products?
You should
Wouldn't
ask
that be
them.
smart?
I don't know.
Maybe I'll have to get on that.
I don't know if it's about the how smart they're being, but it's like, what can they get in there? I remember you'd watch like Ghostbusters and someone opens the refrigerator and there's like a Coke in there and you can just see the label, but it's kind of out of the way. But now they've got characters who would grab the Diet Coke, crack it open, swing it back and go, oh. Nothing beats busting ghosts like drinking a nice Coca-Cola.
Diet Coasts. I loved when a movie would come out and they got so far as to say, like, okay, let's combine our products. Let's have Coca-Cola be the official drink of the Ghostbusters. But then why don't we come out with ectoplasm cola while the movie's coming on? We'll get people excited about that product.
Yep.
Even though they never drink ectoplasm cola in the movie itself, because that would be ridiculous. I saw... Oh, here's a good example of great. What do they call it when the product is in the actual movie?
Product placement.
Is that just what it is?
I believe so. I don't know if it'd be,
because I mean sometimes they say in game.
Oh,
is there like in cinema?
No idea.
So, Marty McFly gets self-lacing shoes that are Nikes, and I remember that going like, oh my god, that's the future of shoes. And I don't know how they got it. Also, do you remember what brand his hoverboard was? It was a Barbie Mattel.
Okay.
Because it's bright pink.
That's right.
And there are great little moments like that from these movies that I wish that, and sometimes it's not a matter of the company paid for it. It's a matter of the filmmakers just needed something, and so they chose this in one particular aspect or another.
If you ever see a movie where there's like a scene that takes place in a movie rental store, more often than not, if you see a scene like that, look at the movies that you can see, and they're almost always the movies that are owned by whatever distributor.
Yeah, they're all Universal films, or they're all Warner Brothers films. Do you do you remember at Chuck E. Cheese? No, it was Showbiz, when it was Showbiz. Do you remember the characters that were the Showbiz like band?
Yeah.
Do you remember the mouse?
I don't remember his name.
It was her. She's a cheerleader.
Okay.
And she's a mouse.
Before she became the bird?
Yes, before it became a bird. I had the biggest crush on that mouse. And I remember in one of the like songs she sang a song that had a product mentioned in it, and I thought, she likes that product. I'm gonna get to know that product so that the next time I'm at Showbiz, I can have something to talk to her about if she chooses to come to life in front of me.
Just picturing little JG going, man, Man, I want to get busy with that robot mouse.
That
over
robot
there.
mouse. And she was dressed like a cheerleader. I feel like she had pigtails, but also she had mouse ears. I know she definitely had They didn't even give her like an instrument. She had pom-poms. But then there was that really cool shaggy dog who was from the beach.
Yep.
And he was what I assumed was my number one, like, nemesis. Because
vying for her affections.
Yeah, he always gets to hang out behind the curtains with her until the next show begins. And so what can I do to up my game in front of this animatronic mouse? And for years, we're not talking about it happened when I was like 5. We're talking at least until age 9, if not 10, 11, 12.
Well, but
whenever it changed, until it changed from a Showbiz to Chuck E. Cheese, I had a crush on that mouse.
And then once she was a bird, you were like, I'm into mice.
It makes me sad to think about right now. I wonder if they just threw her in the garbage. I wonder if there's some other sorry son of a bitch out there who dug that out of the garbage and reprogrammed it.
There is a
Rockabilly Explosion, I think, is what the Rock-a-Fire Explosion.
I
think
can't
was the name of the band.
I know there's a documentary about a guy who basically collects those animatronics and actually fixes them up and has just a huge warehouse of them. He'd go to showbizes that were just closing down or whatever and would collect the animatronics. And obviously, I'm guessing Chuck E. Cheese still has the robot band, or is that gone entirely now?
I think they're phasing it out.
Phasing it out entirely. That's the end of an era.
It is.
But that was before. I mean, we didn't have 3D cartoons at that time anyways.
No.
So to kids, this was the coolest thing.
And
ever.
even like, even though that it didn't move like in a naturalistic way, it still was pretty amazing.
I always loved the chef who played drums, but his hands would just stay at this 90-degree angle the whole time.
He was like a Mario ripoff. And there's a bird that was in an old drum that would like come out and put its head out.
Well, there's sort of a grimacy guy who was he played the keyboard.
That was a gorilla.
Was he a gorilla?
Billy Bob.
Wasn't he a purple? I thought he was just a purple monster.
No, you know what? I'm pretty sure it was a gorilla. Yeah, I'm positive it was a gorilla.
Okay. I believe you.
I'm positive. And Billy Bob was the bear, right? Who had Showbiz.
Oh, yep.
And
I think so.
It's funny because now that I'm thinking about it, I'm kind of shaped like that bear. Like I'm shaped like him. So if I ever got the same overalls he had, I could easily do that as a Halloween
We
costume.
just need to find one of those online quizzes of which Chuck E. Cheese animatronic are you.
Do you ever see the movie Keanu with Key and Peele? Mm-hmm. When they actually get kidnapped at the end and they're in the warehouse, it's a Rock-a-Fire Explosion warehouse. And they never call attention to it, but if you're looking at the background, you're like, oh my God! And I remember nudging Scotch, one of our guests on the show. He and I saw the movie together. And I'm like, do you see that? Do you see where they are? But it didn't mean anything to him because he was too old by the time Chuck E. Cheese or Showbiz really became a thing.
Scotch was on episode 1, and now we're on episode 36.
Holy smokes. Do we have big plans for episode 40?
I'll let you know once we make them.
All right, I'm excited. Speaking of episode 36, the episode we're talking about right now, Crystal Cossette is our guest today. And I've known Crystal for quite a while, so have you. And what's interesting with Crystal is, have you ever seen her in a bad mood?
Yes, but you wouldn't know it right away.
Right, because it still seems like a good mood.
Yeah.
She's just one of those people who, when I see her in a public place, I light up because I know I'm going to have a fun time. The first thing she does today is compliment me, so I always enjoy that.
She's this little sprightly ingenue that when she walks in a room, you'd imagine there'd be like animated bluebirds coming with her, picking up stuff for her, and like a little fawn that opens up like a chair for her and stuff.
In this episode, we talk a lot about food, and she feeds us at one point, which is very exciting. But we also get to touch on things like musical theater, whether or not I can sing. And Tucker also talks about John Edwards.
I mentioned John Edwards.
No, you talk about John Edwards. I think you say his name at least twice.
If you haven't met Crystal before, there's a chance you've eaten some of her baked goods. She runs
Sugarplum.
From Sugarplum. She's got a company called Sugarplum. And if you haven't had any of her food, keep listening to the podcast, but go online and order something from her right now, because her food is good.
I recommend the Pie Pops.
Yes.
And so now that we've whet your appetite for this episode, sit back, relax, and enjoy JJ Meets World with our special guest, Crystal Cossette.
JJ Meets World.
Our guest today is Crystal Cossette Cossopoulos.
Cossopoulos.
That's the one. Who gets points right away. Because the first thing she told me this morning was I had a good fashion combo going on today.
Yeah,
So
but then she
appreciate
followed it
that.
up by complimenting me, saying I look good too, and I objectively don't.
She's being
So-
polite to you and complimentary to me.
I don't know.
I
It kind of
said not that you don't look nice.
see that's the same thing.
It was an afterthought. At
You're saying
best.
that Crystal told the truth and then in a split second turned and told a lie.
No. And she said, I think what Crystal was trying to say here was, I look really good. So she pointed out, and she even mentioned some color combinations that I was going for, and that she didn't want you to feel bad.
But she's known me for a long time. You would know that I would not feel bad by the fact that I know how gross I look right now.
I don't know if you look gross, but
You know that Crystal and I met at a John Edwards rally?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When was this?
When he ran for vice president. So that would have been the 04 election. Yeah, 04 election. Right. So I've known her not as long as you, but longer than most of the theater people in town, which is, I never really think about that. Yeah, even like the Horvicks and stuff.
Yeah.
So, Crystal, you and I met at Trollwood, I believe is the first time I actually face-to-face introduction with you, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Wait, we knew each other at Trollwood too.
We did?
Yeah. You were in video production stuff.
Yeah, but you weren't.
No, but I was there.
Oh boy, Tucker, you're really digging yourself into a hole today.
No, what I'm doing, I'm big timing her. I'm like, oh, really? Oh, I guess I don't remember you from Trollwood.
I was in video production. Yeah, you have a point you're gonna make. I can tell because you're pointing your finger at me a little bit.
No. I kind of remember, but I don't. So when we were in high school?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any classes with you because you were doing awesome musical theatery classes, and that's not my jam.
Oh, that totally explains it.
By the way, I have to
Yeah.
apologize. You tried to get me to do karaoke recently, and I full on shot you down,
You
and I
did.
have felt bad about it.
Oh, no.
since.
Don't feel bad.
You wanted me to sing the one male part in Love Shack, and I would not. But it's because I can't sing. I just can't.
No, you could have done that.
No, that's a dirty, dirty lie.
No. People say they can't sing, and I don't know if you guys know this. I used to teach voice lessons, and I believe everybody can sing. It's just learning.
I believe everyone can randomly hit a note from time to time. It's called getting lucky.
Well, that's singing. I mean, to achieve singing is not a high bar. Good singing, though, that's different,
True.
right?
And Love Shack. I mean, that's just talking.
That's
Right,
T-ball, buddy. You
it's
could have done that one.
big as a whale.
You just did it.
done it.
Yeah, but then see, here's the thing: is I get so self-conscious and I lose beat. I'm that person at a concert who will start clapping and throw my whole group off because and it drives people nuts. I don't have rhythm. I think I'm slightly tone deaf, but it doesn't mean I don't appreciate music. I love it, and I belt it out when I'm all by myself. But singing is an uncomfortable thing for me. But you've been singing forever, right?
Yeah.
Did you do in elementary school? Did you start and it carried you all the way through?
I started in middle school, and then my grandma, I think when I was in 8th grade, got me voice lessons for a Christmas present, and then just kept paying for me to take voice lessons all throughout high school.
Thanks, Grandma.
Yeah, right.
And so, was that ever part of the dream? What was your dream growing up? What did you want to do?
At what point?
Ooh, let's go through them chronologically.
Well, no. Well, for a while, I feel like I had the stereotypical girl dream of, I'm going to be a teacher. I don't know why. I guess I wanted to be a teacher.
Because it's the noblest profession.
Now I feel like I just cut down all teachers.
Yeah, don't worry. I saved it there for you.
No, thank you. But then, I mean, I did have the dream of, wanting to be a performer. But my mom told me, I was looking at colleges and I was looking at theater schools, and my mom said, if she hears this, she's going to feel terrible that I'm saying this. She's like, just because you go to school for theater doesn't mean you're going to be on Broadway.
Ooh.
And I went, oh,
Damn.
but you do have a point, and so I need a backup plan. so I still went into theater, but I don't know. I guess that was kind of a dream, but not.
Kind of a dream, but not. It's like it was my unrealistic thing that I wasn't gonna really try and go for.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel weird. Like their kids have these dreams of things they want to become, and I feel like I never really was like, yes, I'm gonna be that.
That's the
I knew I
beauty
was
of a
going to be a
dream.
podcaster since kindergarten. That was
Really?
1989. We didn't even have the internet yet.
Wait, are you joking?
That's how prescient I was.
He was working on ham radio stuff.
Tucker jokes about things, and then I believe him like every time.
This is a game I play with my nieces and nephews, and they don't fall for it as much as Crystal does.
My cousin Gina is good and gullible, and we were on a cruise ship. We had a family reunion on a cruise ship, and she had a little bit to drink on New Year's Eve, and she was going around asking everyone what their dream was. And everyone was just like, oh, God, stop talking to me, Gina. I don't want to talk about this. And she got to my dad, who always had a really dry sense of humor, and she goes, JD, what was your dream? What did you want to do? And he goes, well, you know, Gina, I always really wanted to be a cowboy. And she said, well, why don't you do it? Why don't you do it? He's like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I should. Maybe it's time I get a horse and a ranch. And the whole time, everyone is just going, JD, just stop. Just stop. And I'm dying laughing. I think it's so funny. And then I told this story at my dad's wake. Gina did not remember it and was incredibly embarrassed.
Oh.
But I feel like that's kind of makes the joke even a little bit better.
That's better that she
Right?
found out that way.
Yeah. And then on the 10-year anniversary of my dad's death, I had a Facebook prank that went too far too fast, where I said, you know, it's been 10 years since my dad passed, and today I got a message from a courier, and it was the deed to a ranch. My dad's dream had always been to be a cowboy, and he had made arrangements while he was sick to pass down this ranch, but I had to be a certain age. And I know it was on my 30th birthday is when I did this. That's when I did this prank. And so many people got on the bandwagon of like, this is amazing. This is the greatest thing. This is going to be, you know, like live your father's dream for him. I was like, ooh, uh-oh.
You felt terrible.
I did. I did.
Did you concoct an even larger story? Like, you guys at the last minute, someone bought the ranch out from underneath me. I didn't realize that there was a statute, like a time limit that I had to get this thing.
The ranch itself is on government property.
How did you come clean?
I just deleted the Facebook post. Yeah, I was like, just clean sweep.
Much like your father's wake, you're coming clean right now.
Yeah, right now.
So anyone who got hoodwinked into that.
And it was the type of thing where I made that post and maybe, 20 minutes later, it had 400 likes on it and 20, 30 comments. So I knew it was getting out of hand too fast. And so I deleted, but I still had questions about it for years. People were like, hey, whatever happened with that ranch? And so...
And you just keep lying?
No,
now I'm really curious. I'm like, really? How are you dealing with this lie?
Well, it's not going well because then I'll be like, what the hell are you talking? Oh, yeah, the ranch. The ranch.
Oh.
And then you got to think about what's it called, right? Because that's the first question people ask, like, where is it? Wyoming. That's an easy answer. And then you don't say a town, though. You just say Wyoming. It's a Wyoming ranch. And then they ask you what the name is, and that's where I have seeded so many small lies into the garden of the giant lie that I have to think about who I'm talking to, because I think it's really funny to name the ranch Hidden Valley, and it takes a couple minutes for people sometimes to click that through.
You could maybe go generationally. So if they're older, say Skywalker, and they probably won't catch it. And if they're younger, say Hidden Valley, and they might not catch it.
Or whatever the name of their ranch, the Ewing Ranch, which is from Dallas.
What's the ranch from Hey Dude?
Oh, that Mr. Ernst owned?
Yeah.
Wasn't it Hey Dude Ranch?
I can't remember if it was or not. All I remember of that show too is one where a guy took a photo with his finger in the way and thought he had proof of the Loch Ness Monster, and one where the owner dude that you just said got into a fist fight with a guy.
Oh, Mr. Ernst?
Yeah.
Got into a fist fight?
Yeah, it was a really dramatic moment because it went off screen, but you saw the shadows of their tumbling going on. Then
Is that the show that had the girl Melody?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
Christine
Another right show.
Taylor,
Mm-hmm.
who later went on to marry Ben Stiller.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
And then they appeared together in Zoolander. Remember
Keep
that?
up, Crystal.
Remember that?
I can't.
In the show Hey Dude, Mr. Ernst had a son who was kind of a city. I mean, Mr. Ernst was a city slicker. He was a nerd who wanted to be a cowboy. And he had a son who was very urban-like. And I remember at a young age thinking like, they should have thought about this twice because they made the son carry a skateboard around a lot because that symbolizes how much of a city kid he is. But they're on a dude ranch. There's nowhere that skateboard would have worked. Can we also mention this for just a quick second? Did you ever go somewhere where kids had bikes, but they shouldn't have been biking? For example, I rode bike down at our lake cabin, but there were no paved roads. And so I was constantly like going really, really fast down these steep embankments on gravel. And then I'd bite it almost at the end and not be able to ride my bike because I'd be covered in bruises and cuts. So I'd have to walk it back. Did you ever have a situation where you shouldn't have been riding a bike, but you were? I told you this podcast goes everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, probably. I mean, I grew up on a farm
Yeah.
in Kindred, so I was always just off riding bike.
So you got
by
good
myself.
at gravel biking.
Yeah. And now I think about it, I would never allow my daughter, like third grader, just to go biking through the woods out in the country on like country highways by herself. Like,
Yeah, because that's how most horror movies start,
right.
right?
Yeah. I survived.
What was it like growing? So what kind of a farm was it? Was it a full-on farm, hobby farm,
No, well,
rural township farm?
yeah, it's kind of interesting. My mom and I moved here from New Mexico when I was in third grade, and we didn't have any place to live, and my grandma had remarried, and her husband had this farm with Black Angus cattle. And so we said, oh, Mary and Crystal, you don't have a place to live. You can come live on my farm if you take care of the cattle. So we did. Well, not we. I mean, I
gonna
kind of
say-
helped sometimes. My mom really took care of the cattle. So there was Black Angus.
Really?
And we had a horse. We had geese at one point. I don't like talking about the geese. They're really scary.
Oh, did you get attacked by them?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They I was on top of my car and they surrounded me and they were hissing at me and they wouldn't let me get down and get into my car.
Geese don't
It was
mess around.
so frightening.
Did they do that thing that like tom turkeys do, where they put their wings out to like make themselves look like bigger, like they put their wingspan out?
I don't remember. I just remember them hissing.
They're fast too. They're a lot faster than
Freaky.
people give them credit for. Have you ever been attacked by a bird, Tucker?
Not well, kind of by like a cockatiel, but
What?
I was able to fend it off
Oh.
pretty easily. When they bite you, I mean that's technically an attack,
Yeah, I suppose.
and I've never had
Yeah.
a problem with it. So
Have either of you ever been to the Duluth Zoo?
I got dive bombed by a
No.
seagull once.
Oh, that's too bad.
That's the best. I don't have very good bird attack stories. I'm kind of jealous.
Hold on. Before we did eat the geese, though.
You ate them.
Yeah, because we had the geese to eat them.
I have
That felt good.
I have a frozen goose in my freezer right now. From
You're like, Mom, can I kill the goose today?
Did you kill the goose?
I didn't kill the goose, but I enjoyed eating
Who
it.
killed the goose for you?
Probably my mom.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
your mom sounds awesome.
she is awesome.
So she's just taking care of these cows.
Yeah.
Did she farm experience before moving up here?
Probably not.
So she really made like her life, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, my mom's amazing.
That must be pretty awesome to have like that strong female backing to look at and to say like, man, if my mom can do it, I can do it.
Oh, yeah. Can I tell a story about my mom?
Yeah.
So we lived out on a farm, and I went to a middle school dance, and she brought me home from may have been like my first middle school dance. And there was this guy like out on our farm, and it was nighttime. My mom's like, "Get back in the car." And I got in the car, and she addressed this man, was like, "I have a gun, blah, 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 get off my property." And he was saying, "Oh, we ran out of gas, blah, blah, blah." It turned out he did run out of gas. Like, she let him get into our car, and we drove to where he had run out of gas. But she was such a badass the whole time. She was like, "I have my hand on a gun." She didn't have a gun. I mean, she did have a gun, but not there with us at that time.
Yeah.
But just seeing how she like,
Mama bared it.
my mom's shorter than me. She's like 4'10", just little, and she was like not messing around with this guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you've learned a lot of life lessons then from your mom.
Yeah.
So if you see someone in your front yard, you're going to be like, I've got a gun in my hand.
Don't mess with us.
When did theater become part of your your jam?
Like 8th grade.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you remember the first show you were ever in?
Yes. Well, the first show I was in ended up getting canceled because of the flood of
Oh,
1996,
that's a
I think.
You were in
bummer.
Grand Forks.
No.
No,
We
were overland flooding down like south of
yeah,
Fargo.
yeah.
No,
Okay,
it was
yep.
really, that was like a really bad year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
But I was in Jane Eyre. I got cast as the little girl Adele.
They were doing
Jane
Jane Eyre when you were in 8th grade, you say?
Well, the high school did it. Yeah.
Whoa.
And I went to
Okay.
Kindred, so we don't have it wasn't the greatest theater program at the time.
It's like a 4-hour play.
You know, I will say this, though, that Kindred never gave up on their theater program. I remember seeing ads in the paper for looking for like a director to come down, and they had grant money to bring people in. So they wanted to have that as an option in Kindred. A shout out to New Rockford, North Dakota. Are either of you familiar with New Rockford?
Yeah.
Friend of yours, Case Dillon, lives out in New Rockford. I think he does.
Is that Sean's
Sean's
little
brother?
brother?
Yep.
Okay.
Younger
I think
brother.
he's moving back to Fargo.
So, well, at one point he lived in New Rockford.
Okay.
And that's when I interacted with him. But they've got like 3 theaters in New Rockford. 2 of them are old churches where the congregation has just died out, and they've turned them into theater spaces.
Have they
And-
literally died?
Yeah,
they just,
they
like,
literally
stopped.
died out. They were like, well, there's the last Methodist. Guess it's ours now. We're going to take it over, Mad Max style.
Anyone been using the church lately? No, I think they all died.
No, there's no presbys left.
We ran them out.
But it's cool because they make deals with bus tour companies. So the bus tour companies come in and will see shows. So they'll have like 700 people who see a show that the locals put on. And it's really, it's cool. So New Rockford, North Dakota. It's a
I
trek.
guess that's what we got to do at B, huh? We got to start getting buses to bring
Yeah.
people in. 700, that'd be a great number to get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would be. And then New Rockford's doing it. So why aren't you guys?
So Crystal,
Step it up.
Crystal, within the past year, became an official ensemble member of Theater B, which is pretty sweet. And so, and we just worked on a play together called The Moors, which Crystal was in. And also, thank God that we have Crystal in the company, because now we have not just one person who can sing, because Missy Teeters can sing. Now we've got Crystal, so now we've got 2 people who can sing. Thank goodness. Theater B ain't singers until now.
And it's all right because sometimes people just can't sing.
That's true.
Crystal's got another point. She's wagging her finger at Tucker this time.
No. You're making me aware of
that's
this.
That's the
It's my
point
tell.
indicator.
More people can sing. I think David could sing. Carrie can sing. Did you hear Mick singing?
What did Mick choose to sing at the Theater B karaoke jam?
I wasn't in the room, but I heard him from out in the hallway, and I was like, what?
If I had to guess, Mac the Knife. And I feel like he'd get into character while
Yeah.
he does it and kind of like sloop one shoulder down. And
He also refused to sing Love Shack.
oh, so I was did you come to me first or Mick first?
I don't remember. I
Oh,
honestly
you
don't.
went to
I
Mick
honestly
first.
don't remember.
If you don't remember, you went to Mick first, and then you were just like, "Oh yeah, let's grab JJ." So how many shows have you done at Theater B?
4,
4?
5.
That sounds about right.
Boys Life, Vanya Sonia, Moors.
Oh,
Hand to
Hand to
God,
God.
the
Hand
one
to
that
God.
we
The one
were
that
in
we were in
together.
together.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Don't forget why we invited you on, Crystal.
Thanks.
I know, yeah, because I need to have some kind of thing to grasp onto.
what was the title of the play where there was a Cinderella costume, and weren't you like
Vanya
dressed-
Sonia, Masha, and
Vanya
Spike.
Sonia? So there's the 5th one. I don't think
She
you
said
said
No,
that.
I said that
Oh,
one.
you said Vanya?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I
So
kind of
just 4.
mumbled it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and you've done some musical theater too as well, right? Do you have
Yeah.
a favorite show you've ever been in?
I knew you were going to ask me this.
It's hard to pick sometimes.
It is really hard. Are we talking about musicals?
Sure.
Are we? I was in a production of Into the Woods with Music Theater Fargo Moorhead.
Ooh, what
That
role did
was-
you play?
I played Little Red Riding Hood.
Oh, that's
This
a
was
fun
my
one.
second time playing Little Red
That's
Riding
such a
Hood.
great show.
Yeah, it's so good. And just the way Hardy Koenig directed it and the way he directed it was just awesome. And yeah, I love the show. I love Sondheim. I feel like I've kind of to the point now where I've done so many shows that I kind of forget
Mm-hmm.
what shows I've done.
Do you ever find that sometimes you have a memory of a show, and it's really just a memory of the cast, and you really enjoyed the people who were in it, and not necessarily the show so much, but it, does that make sense at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that. In college, we did these Pinter plays, and Harold Pinter, he writes like the ellipses. That's what they're called, right? The ... dots.
Yeah.
And he's very specific with how he writes them. And we had a metronome so that you have to give the exact amount of like time with these ... dots where he writes them with all his different punctuation. And that show was just weird. And I didn't love the show, but the cast was so fun that we made the most out of it. Yeah.
When I was a senior in high school, we did Oliver.
Oh,
And
God.
it's not my favorite show, and it wasn't my favorite role that I had. That's one where I had to sing. It was Allie. You guys know Allie Shower? Either of you know
Yeah.
Allie Shower? Allie Shower
I don't
and
know
I
her,
were
but I know of
a
her.
husband and wife. We were the Sourberries, the Undertakers.
Uh-huh.
And I remember at the first rehearsal, kind of working through the song, and Mr. Radnick, goes, okay, listen, Allie is a great singer, and she's just going to find wherever you are and harmonize with it. So, if you're fond of overeat, and then she'd find like where it was, and every single time it was a little bit different. But she was great. She never once made me feel bad about it, and I was like, "Thank you, Allie, so much." So, if you're listening, Allie Shower, if that's even your last name still, you may have changed it because you're super famous now. But
I hate the show Oliver.
do you?
I did, but then I was in it. And I
Yeah.
played Widow Corny, and I got to like yell at the orphans. But after being in it, then I appreciated it. I find that about a lot of shows where I'm like, ugh, like Oklahoma, ugh. But then I was in it, and I was like, okay, I can appreciate this.
There are some shows that you just sort of have to do at one point, right? Because you got to get it out of your system, and people like the person at home who sees one play or one musical every like 5 or 6 years, they know Oklahoma. They're like, oh, Oklahoma, that's one that everyone does. And when you're watching a high school drama like Riverdale or Buffy, if they're doing a show, it's usually in Oklahoma or in Oliver, something that everyone knows. And so I'm glad I was in Oliver, but it was the cast that made it fun.
Yeah.
It was nothing else from it. Nothing else.
Yeah.
The costumes were horrible. The costumes were great in the sense of all these kids are trying to look period appropriate, but it's hard. Sandy Field does her absolute best, and I appreciate that. But she was like, it's going to be a tuxedo coat. Whatever you do, it's going to be a tuxedo coat. So just get ready for it. And the set was enormous, but it doesn't really look like London. Right? It doesn't take you, and you're like, oh, watch out for Jack the Ripper. I do remember though, this is an example of the worst line read I've ever seen. A friend of mine, Jared Nillis, was in the show only because he wanted to be a part of what everyone else was doing, and he hates musicals, hates them. I can't believe that he and I went on so many road trips together because that's what I listened to, and it must have driven him nuts. But he likes to listen to Run DMC, and I don't like that, so maybe it's a good yin and yang. I digress. So at one point, the main female character is murdered by her husband boyfriend-ish thing, Bill Sykes. And the rich man who has adopted Oliver happens upon the body, and a passerby comes, and they're supposed to yell like murder, be like to say like there's been a murder that's taken place, and not anything more than that. But the way Jared read it, because he only read it once before we got to like the first rehearsal, is he came in and looked directly at this old man and goes, murderer, murderer. And I remember stop. You're not accusing him of murder. He's very rich. You're going to naturally assume from context clues that this man did not just kill this woman. You're just announcing that, like, it's like yelling police, police. So if the line was police, you would say police, police, and accuse the person of being a police officer. And I told him, I'm like, listen, the night of the first show, deliver it that same way, and let's just see what happens. And he never did because he was a pseudo professional.
So that actually reminds me of a theater story from high school. My senior year, we did Jekyll and Hyde as our musical.
A musical?
Yeah.
Why do these high schools do these shows? So
Yeah.
no.
we had.
It's all right. You can say that.
Man, they're just
So I played Sir Danvers Carew, who was the father of he's the father-in-law of Jekyll.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the opening things is Jekyll is making a speech in front of a group of scientists, and they're all arguing about it. And Sir Danvers Carew has a line that goes, even though it's a bitch, something more than you earn, paying more than you earn, something like that. But the word bitch was in it. And Miss Schmidt, our director, was totally like cool with us, like leaving. She's like, we're going to leave it in. No, it's totally fine. We're going to treat you guys like adults. We're going to leave it in. And it was one of our last performances. And she came backstage before we started. She goes, so the administration is here, you guys. All the principals are here, and Superintendent Flowers or whoever it was at the time is here. So what we're going to do is we're going to not say that word. I'm going to have you say something else instead.
Like a bee.
Like a bee.
It's a bee, but...
And I was like, I don't know if I want to. And enough kids goaded me into it that I was like, I'm going to say bitch on stage. And so everyone knew I was going to do it except for her. And when it came to it, I hit the word like hard. I went, even though it's a bitch, as hard as I could. And it felt so good. And then as soon as I got off stage, I booked it to the back because I knew I wasn't on for a while. And I wanted to get into a room where she wasn't going to be. And I heard her come like tearing through the hallway. Where is he? And she didn't find me. And so I didn't get yelled at, but she yelled at other cast members instead of me. But they all thought it was worth it. It's because I got to say bitch in front of the administration. So Jared should have followed my lead.
Murder. Murderer.
Also, I was going to say the direction he was given to fix that was way too much for Jared. It should be like, no, just say murder instead of murderer.
just read the word.
Just say murder
word.
instead. Yep, that's it. That's all you got to do, buddy. Go ahead, take a nap.
I really feel, though, that if that's what it was, he just would have been like, okay, well, it doesn't make sense if I'm accusing this person of being a murderer to just say murder to them. They know they've murdered that girl. Murder!
Just accuse the body of murder. Just
Yeah.
accuse the body of murder.
That works.
Oh, okay.
So that's an example of a show I was in that the cast and the rehearsal process was a lot more fun than the actual show. Now, we got to do Hand to God together, which if
Yeah.
you didn't know it, if you've never seen it or heard of it, it all takes place in the basement of a little tiny church in Texas, and it is a puppet show about if this puppet is possessed by the devil or if the kid's just cracking. And Crystal, you got to play like the love interest in this for the main character. And you even got to do some pretty intense puppet work at one point where you produce a puppet who gets it on with the demonic puppet.
Yeah.
That must have been a lot of fun, huh?
Puppet sex. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. She also had boobs and tore open her shirt
Yep.
and
And
exposed
did she have
them.
little button nipples?
Yeah. She had like jewel nipples.
So,
It was amazing.
you know, I never actually got to see that because I was always
yeah.
backstage and there wasn't a good vantage point to peek out and see it. But I would hear the audience's reaction every single night, and it started off as like this, and it was a build. It was amazing. Also, I have never been in a show before where the audience has been as vocal during it, where they would say things like, Jesus Christ. And you would hear someone from the audience say that.
Yeah.
And I mean, have you ever been a part of a show like that where the audience actually exclaims during the show?
Yeah, every once in a while. But
the Moors people kind of did.
The Moors people kind of did.
Yeah.
I've even had it where when we did Rabbit Hole at Theater B years ago, and it wasn't, no one was going, Jesus Christ, or anything like that, but there was an old woman. There's always like one old lady who is going to just talk the whole time. And she's not talking over the show. She's talking with the show. So she's digesting what she's seeing and speaking it out loud to whoever she's with. And I came on stage. My character had accidentally killed the child of these two people. And he was showing up to sort of have a conversation with them. And I walk in and I hear this woman go, "Oh, he is such a sad boy." Right, it's like a 60-seat black box theater. Everyone can hear that. And I tried to not laugh, which is a really serious scene. And then she was like, "He's so sad. Why is he so sad?" And so I like it when that kind of happens where someone, I mean, obviously it's disruptive, but at the same time it's sort of endearing because that person is totally immersed in what's going on and they can't help but do it.
Did you see Rabbit Hole?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Pointing again. Tucker, you were phenomenal in that.
Thank you.
Like, I still remember that.
That was a fun show.
Man.
It's a Matt Burkholder directed show.
Blew me away. And I keep thinking, like, why isn't Tucker doing more shows?
I got to do more shows now that
you're so good.
Now that I'm not traveling for work anymore. I'm going to be trying to act pretty soon, but directing first with this dude.
Yeah.
Yep, Santaland Diaries.
It's going to be awesome.
In Rabbit Hole, that scene that you and Lori share.
That was the scene.
Yeah. I mean, both of you, I think, give the performance of a lifetime in it. And I think you really dialed into, let's get it real actory right here. You dialed into something that was interesting, which is it's not sad. Like you didn't just come in as sad.
Yeah.
You came in as this kid who is, I mean, you've taken a human life by accident.
Yeah.
And you need to process. You need people to process this with who can understand, but the people who understand want nothing to do with you because you remind them of like the. It was very intense.
Doing that show also started the tradition of me having roles at Theater B where I play a character who has killed a child.
Really?
So almost every play after that, until I want to say like the 39 Steps. Every character I played had it like a child death on their hands in some fashion. So Kuwait, I had killed Kuwaiti children. The one with Amber, we were in the cabin in the woods. I had escaped to that cabin because I had accidentally caused like the death of my child. In Pillow Man, I was mentally handicapped guy who had been murdering children. I think there might be one other example besides Rabbit Hole where I'd kill a kid with my car. And so that was like the ongoing joke was like, is there a role for Tucker this year? Well, has anyone killed a kid in any of these plays? That'll be Tucker.
Oh,
I
boy.
feel like we have some on the short list.
Do we?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
What kind?
For this season?
No.
Next season?
Yes.
Good.
I don't know. We can discuss later.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
That's ensemble member talk right there. Okay, so I'd like to now get into the thing I'm most excited to talk to you about, which is your new business venture.
Yeah.
So what's the name of your new, I mean, are you calling it a bakery or a patisserie?
No. I mean, it's called Sugarplum. I just say it's my side baking business.
By the way,
Your side baking business.
I love that name, by the way.
Thank you.
I feel like it's important to actually tell business owners when they have a good name for their business that they have one, because so often it's just like, no, that's a bad name for whatever it is you're doing. But Sugarplum is a really good name for your business.
The logo is also top notch. I wonder where you got that.
Yay, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Side note, Crystal is connected to Jeff Knight, previous guest on this podcast.
Episode 30, Cinnamon Crazy.
Yeah, go and listen to it.
I'm connected as in we're together.
Yeah.
Not,
Part-
I mean, in
partners.
this room.
Not
but
like business partners. So
No.
if you're from the IRS, he's not hiding hidden business earnings.
she's going to go home and go, Jeff, are you ready for some kissing?
Are you ready to connect?
We are connected. No, but deciding on the name of Sugarplum was a huge pain in the ass, and I think Jeff slightly hated me for, not for real hated me, but was very annoyed with me because we kept going through all these names, and he'd come up with names. I'd be like, nope.
It's got to feel right.
Yeah. And then he was like, Sugarplum. I'm like, ooh, okay.
Put that one on the list of 50 that I like.
I didn't like anything.
So it was just no. It was no.
Yeah.
He was like, like Crystal's Treats, Crystal, Crystal Pepsi.
He's like, Oreos. No, Jeff, that one already has.
Can't do that.
It's too late, Jeff.
Legal thing.
Shits ahoy.
No.
No.
That's,
I always
that's
thought-
the name of JJ's new deli that he's working on.
But we specialize in big chocolate chunk cookies.
Oh, gross.
And everyone's dressed like a sailor.
She missed the opportunity to call hers Bear Scat, which is an actual business out in Bismarck.
Huh?
Bear Scat Donuts. Exactly, right? That's the
The
reaction. you
blank
should have.
look on my face.
Yeah,
Huh?
Bear Scat.
You know what scat is?
No.
Scat's
Is it-
like animal poop.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. And it's literally what they
poop.
mean is bear poop.
That's-
Because they have a signature donut that looks like a bear dropped it off in the woods somewhere. And I remember seeing so that's like a title. So the thing is that's not a good title, but it is because I'm still talking about it years later. And I love thinking about what the conversation with the bank officer was when the loan was applied for. And it's like, so what is this business you're doing? Well, ever since I was a child, I've loved cooking. My mother taught me how to cook, and I love to bake all the time, and we would bake donuts. And so I wanted to do a business that combines that with my love of bear shit.
Yep.
So we're going to call it bear shit. And he's like, well, how about bear scat? If you call it bear scat, I can approve this loan. Got it.
Classier.
Well, we just approved a loan for a car wash called Taints, so it might as well get it going. I have a theory about donut shops in North Dakota that none of them have really great names. They're all things that you really don't want to associate with a donut. So like Sandy's Donuts. If I ever ate a donut that was sandy, like I think of like grit, like when you get sand in your teeth, like ugh. And then Bear Scat is another good example
I don't know why Sandy's doesn't call it caveman donuts.
because that's what their logo is.
Yeah, it's a caveman.
Yeah.
and it's a male caveman as well.
Yeah.
So is that caveman's name Sandy?
It
Was
could
he
be.
the first Sandy
There
out there?
They probably
Men
didn't have
named
the
Sandy.
same gender rules for names back in caveman days.
Well, no, Sandy's a man's name as well.
Oh, okay.
But I just find it like that's a very Sandy rather than like Ugg, right? Like
Yeah.
Ugg's Donuts.
Yeah. I would totally eat Ugg's donuts.
But we can name our donut companies these, like we have one called like Sweet Rings.
Yeah, I
right?
saw that.
We can name our donut places these names because we don't have a national chain donut place here who's been like, it's Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin', like you dunk a donut. You stupid sons of bitches.
Yeah, I don't know why no one has started a donut shop called Go Nuts for Donuts.
Jim Dene should.
Yes.
Yeah. Because his name looks kind of like donut. I wonder if Jim Jim, if you're listening to this, I haven't seen you in years, buddy. How's it going?
But Sugarplum.
Sugarplum. Yeah. Back to Sugarplum. So I've had a chance to sample some of your treats at various events, and you're big right now. Like you're a go-to for places. They're like, we want to class up this event, or we want to have something at this, this breakfast we're having for investors. What are we gonna do? We gotta get Sugarplum. That's where it's at. So, what do you like making the most?
Well, I specialize in pies. I love making pie dough. I won't get into like geeking out over the
No,
process.
please
of making
do.
Oh, well, it's just
What's different between pie dough and like other dough?
well, pie dough you want to have like pieces of the butter. Like you don't want to incorporate the butter completely into the dough. So you want to have like nice chunks of the butter so that when it bakes, it, like puffs and makes it
Is that
delicious and flaky. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I love making pie dough. I also really love making French macarons. Those are a pain in the ass, and I have made so many to get them right. So
How
I
are you
really
not
enjoy
like
those.
1,000,000 pounds? Because you're a very petite young lady, and if I was making this stuff all the time, because I feel like I've got to try one, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay,
Oh, yeah.
the cookie comes out, I got to try this cookie, and then the next batch, I got to make sure it's still maintaining. How are you not like 10,000 pounds?
I don't know. I mean, I eat pretty healthy most of the other time, but I have gained like 10 pounds. Since I started Sugarplum, I will admit.
Tucker and I got winded walking up to movie seats the other day. So, 10 pounds. Woo.
I'm just saying. Yeah. What was the question? What am I talking about? What do I like to make?
Like
How do you
dough.
avoid oversaturating yourself with your wares? Getting high
Well,
on your own supply, as they say.
Yeah. I was actually just thinking that. Like, I got to sample the stuff.
Yeah. So Crystal has brought us yummies today in a plastic bag, and I have not had breakfast, and I have been waiting for this part.
This is becoming a recurring thing with our guests because Rachel Gaynor brought us, was it apple strudel?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Or was it rhubarb?
No.
Was it strudel?
Yeah,
It was strudel.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
'cause
right.
they make the apple thing. So I did not know that about pie dough that you want to keep. I always figured like anything you want to like mix and mix and mix and mix and mix and mix and mix.
No.
No?
No.
Is that with
Especially
all
pie dough.
baking stuff?
Well, yeah. A lot of times you don't want to overmix things.
See, I'm always worried that if I don't mix enough, someone will get a piece of cake that they bite into and is just like like a chunk of
Right.
flour. Like they'll.
Well, right. I mean, mix it so it's not that.
See, this is what I'm getting into. Like, how
Idiot.
can you tell when it's mixed but not overmixed? Like brownie batter is an example, right? You can overmix brownie batter and then they get super flat. Is that what happens? Like they bake down, they don't bake.
Because there's no air
I
in
don't
it. Then
know.
is that why? Because you've aerated it too much. There's just no air.
Here,
in it.
okay, I have been trying to find like a science of baking book, and I thought I found one, but I really want something that just breaks it down. Like when you combine baking soda and this, it's going to do this.
This
if
is the
you have
chemical
more of this
reaction.
than this, yes. If anyone knows of a book that's baking science, like I want it.
So when you're baking something though, is it to the point for you, or maybe it's dish dependent, but are you always following a recipe like to the letter, or are you able to do a dash of this, that? That looks like enough flour. Oh, this looks like I think enough aeration.
My pie dough is like the same recipe.
Okay.
Just because I know that works and don't want to mess with that. When it comes to fillings or like flavoring things, I can make an apple cardamom pie. I don't have a recipe for that. I just throw in some cardamom, and then sometimes I'll throw in like some orange zest because that sounds good with the apple cardamom. Or like the filling, one of the things that I brought is a strawberry rhubarb basil filling. And that was just kind of by taste.
Yes.
But it depends. Like macarons, you follow that recipe because they are so finicky. But yeah, other things you can just play around.
And now here I'm going to get a chance to try something that's strawberry rhubarb basil, right? Like you don't get those options at just a regular place.
Right, you're
I
not-
never would have even thought that I would ever get to eat something like that. So I'm pumped. I love trying new stuff.
There's a book that you should pick up. It doesn't necessarily do only with baking, but IBM programmed a computer that analyzes flavor. So that's all this computer does. And it started spitting out these flavor combinations you would never think to put together, but based on the like genetic makeup and like how things taste after they cook a certain temperature,
That's awesome.
So it's doing the hard work for people of like, oh no, I accidentally dumped a bunch of corn chowder into this, into this pie mix, and then they, turn out to get the most amazing cornbread ever or whatever. But it is I think it's called the Flavor Matrix. And what's neat is every chapter has this wheel where it shows like where flavor indicators are on this wheel and how they intersect. It is very, very
That's
cool.
amazing.
Yeah. One of the things is corn and coconut creme brulee.
Ooh.
And
Ooh, wait, you said coconut?
coconut, yeah.
Never mind.
Oh, you don't like coconut?
No.
But here's the thing though. When you read this thing, they say people are going to tell you they don't like coconut, but they should eat this because the corn changes the flavor and the texture of the coconut.
Okay, that would definitely get me to try it for certain.
Right. And that's the thing is this computer is like, I don't care what you like. I'm a IBM computer.
Science.
Every time I hear coconut, I flash back to the first time I discovered they made coconut candy bars, and I was pissed. Dad took Brianna and I to Stop and Go and said, you can each pick out a candy bar.
Oh, no.
And I picked one out because it had a palm tree on it. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this looks delicious. And then I took it home and I bit into it. And I said, Dad, why is there rice in my candy bar? And he said, no, buddy, that's coconut. and I cried because I threw it at the candy bar because I didn't like the taste of it. I flash back to that every time.
Was that your first time?
That was my
having
first time with
coconut?
coconut, yeah, that I can recall.
Have you had it since?
Yes, and I
been forced?
cry every time. I cry every time.
Okay, now I'm like, I'm going to make something.
Well,
You're going to eat it and you're going to like
I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of way to prepare it that I would suddenly like it, right? Like, I don't like carrots unless
It's
it's
in
been
a
cooked
cake.
in a stew or it's in a cake. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't like just like a carrot?
No.
Oh, I think that's one of the best tastes.
I wish I did because I always thought it looked delicious to Bugs Bunny. You know how like cartoons make food look so good, and so he just pull out a carrot anytime and would crunch into it. I thought, oh, that looks delicious the way that he's eating it up. But just like how you don't get a perfect like turkey drumstick where it's just a solid bone and then just nothing but processed white meat on the outside of it, like cartoons make it look. Carrots to me are just not delicious.
I was reading a very interesting article recently, which is people are forgetting what carrots taste like because baby carrots are so popular nowadays. And a baby carrot is not what an actual carrot tastes like. Those are the shavings of carrots that have been pressed together. And
Really?
believe it or not, like some of these major companies are using like a chemical binding agent to get them to come together.
Really?
And so when you taste a baby carrot and then you take a bite of like a garden fresh carrot, it's apples and oranges different.
Baby carrots have no flavor.
No, yeah.
Like
they're boring.
water. Yeah.
They're convenient as hell, but you know, I also think like you can eat a carrot with like the skin on, right? I'm a big believer in you're supposed to eat a little bit of dirt in your life. You know, like it helps build up your immunity. So when I was a kid, we used to pull carrots right out of the ground. You'd like, you know, wipe off as much dirt as you could, but then you'd eat it.
Yeah.
Like you're eating the soil, some worm
Which
poop.
one of your parents was growing carrots?
Well, my mom was an amazing gardener.
Really?
We had a giant garden at the lake.
Oh, okay.
And she did everything. She did beans and snap peas and sunflowers and just everything. And she even knew to plant marigolds. Like, so the garden was bordered with marigolds. I thought, well, that's a weird thing. But apparently that's a natural deterrent to rabbits. They hate the smell of marigolds because it smells similar to like cat urine. So they think that there's a predator nearby. Yeah, my mom, an amazing gardener, which is hard to believe. Like when you look at
Yeah,
you
I
know,
was like, what? Which parent was doing this?
Yeah, right?
The cowboy?
yeah, no, my dad was the one who got down there. And goes, I'm not weeding anything. I'm going to mow with my shirt off. Like that's what he did. So again, let's get back to Sugarplum.
Okay.
You first, do you have one of those pie whistles, like one of the bird whistle things for a pie? Have you ever heard of those?
I don't know what you're talking about.
So I just discovered that this is a thing that centuries-old bakers really enjoy, but it looks like a little, it is a ceramic bird, and it's got like a beak, and you put it in the pie, and when enough steam is created from the filling, it's like starts to tweet, and that's an indicator that the pie is done.
I would probably not. Even if the bird was whistling, I'd be like, I don't know. I'd have to.
Pretty. I've seen a lot of
looks
pies. It looks really
awesome.
pretty.
Yeah. It sounds awesome.
And this is, of course, at a time when you couldn't just open your oven just to check on stuff because maybe, you know, like the fire would, you know.
Burn your face?
Yeah. Or more oxygen would hit it. I don't know. But I didn't know that this was a thing. And I was looking at one at a Sur la Table recently, and they treated me like I was a moron. They're like, "You've never heard of a pie whistle? You dumb man." And I was like, well, "You're not French. This is downtown Chicago." "I am French. I work at Sur la Table. Buy my spoons."
I like your accent.
You like that?
That's good.
Yeah. I can only do a shitty French, like a shitty person from France. Like I couldn't do a nice person from France. Only someone who is very condescending to you American pigs.
I'm terrible at accents. So every time.
Really?
Yes, I'm
do
so
a
bad.
reggae accent.
What? No.
Reggae.
No.
Come on.
I can't.
So what do you have any old school methods that you incorporate into your baking process? Anything that's sort of like this is tried and true. So here's an example. Are you crinkling the edges of these with a fork, or do you have
I
one
am.
of those fancy like?
No, I crinkle it with a fork.
With a fork?
Yeah.
Where did you learn to crinkle with a fork?
I don't know.
It's the way
You
it's
just
always
do
been
it.
done, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Recently, you had a post on Sugarplum about how you used to hate it when the filling would bubble over the edge, and now you've kind of embraced that. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, when I first started baking, I just thought, you guys might know this. I'm kind of a perfectionist.
Your posture is amazing, by the way.
Oh, thank you. That was so nice.
That's because she's a singer.
Yeah.
You need
Is
good
it really?
posture
Is
for
it?
that. I'm
Well, I
I'm
mean-
assuming that's why, but you
Well,
need
yeah,
good
you should
posture
have
when you
good
sing.
posture when you sing.
Oh.
I mean,
I mean,
you can't
I've-
collapse your lungs. You have to.
Oh, maybe that's what's
Put a
going
place
on.
to- Anyway, seriously, what was I talking about?
Talking about we talked about crinkling the edges. The bubbling over onto the edge.
Bubbling over, yes. So you make this nice lattice topping, or you put like cute little flowers and stuff on your pie, and then the juice bubbles over. I'm like, oh, it's ruined. It's not perfect. It's not like how it should look. Blah blah blah. And then you can't fight that. I've learned you can't fight like fruit juice bubbling over. And then doesn't something look really delicious if it has like that fruit juice? Yeah,
And so now you've come to embrace
I've
it.
come to embrace it. Yeah, I did. So these strawberry basil ones. There was one where it started coming out of the vents. I ate that one this morning, but
So would there be like, since this is audio only, if someone went to like the Sugarplum website, would they see some images of what we're seeing right now in front of us?
my website's not done.
Okay, but like
The
Facebook
Facebook
or
page.
anything
Facebook
like that?
or Instagram. Yeah, especially Instagram, which is at Hello Sugarplum. Yeah, you'd see so many
Because
images
these are like
of
very
things I make.
attractive little pastries that are kind of the size of ravioli almost.
Yeah, like a big ravioli.
Yeah, well,
Some of
these
them
are
look
like-
like mini scones.
These are like Pop-Tarts. These are strawberry basil Pop-Tarts. These are just tiny. I had leftover pie dough, so I made you guys little bites with Nutella in them.
Oh,
And then these are chocolate chip scones.
what?
Yes.
What's the deal with puff pastry? I don't understand what puff pastry is.
Oh, well, it has. I want to try to make puff pastry. Have you watched the Great British Baking
Yeah,
Show?
it's a great
like,
show.
That's intense to actually make puff pastry because it's just layers and layers and layers of butter. So that when it bakes and that butter puffs, then you get all of those little layers. I would love to make that someday, but oof.
And so you make everything from scratch?
Yeah,
Do you ever think like, oh, I'm just going to go get the Pillsbury frozen
No.
stuff?
no.
No.
I would feel like such a cheater. I mean, if you're ordering a pie from me and it's not a homemade crust, like what are you paying for?
Somebody
Right?
else to do it.
I guess. Yeah, but I mean, you want to also have that experience of having a super delicious pie crust.
So what is your oven always on at
Mm.
the house? Is it just constantly on?
Yeah.
Are you, and you've got a full-time job, right?
Yeah.
So you're doing this. Are you staying up way too late on most nights?
So many late nights. Like,
Yeah.
like this past week, I did 600 pastries for TEDx
Whew.
on Thursday. And then I did creative mornings. I made scones for that. So it's just been a lot of like up until 3, 4 in the morning baking.
I've really appreciated. I've had a couple times where Jill has brought home the pie pops that
Yes.
you do. Which, how do you get those things so small?
Well, it's a cookie cutter.
Is it really?
It's a cookie cutter, yeah.
Oh, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
But I wanted to make you some pie pops, but we recently moved into a new house last week and I packed away like my cake pop pie pop sticks. I couldn't find them.
Sugarplum episode part 2 for that one.
Yeah, you
we'll
can
have
come
Sugarplum back.
Bring some pie pops.
Actually, we're planning a live event, and we'll have to have Sugarplum at
Hell
our
yeah.
live
Yeah.
event. Uh-huh. We'll have to get some of that sauerkraut from Rachel,
Ooh.
and then we'll have to have Jeff build us a logo.
Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
then we'll have
Get a ride in
Sugarplum.
Bill Brooks' Tesla.
Why don't we start a carnival based on the podcast, and people can win stuff? So, what are you using for like baking pan? Like, are you cooking every pie in a glass dish? Do you cook it in a metal dish? Are you using the tin like pie pans?
No, well, I mean, if someone orders the pie, they don't want to have to give me back my glass pie plate.
Right.
So I just order like in bulk from Amazon, the aluminum
Yeah.
The pie plates, the tin ones. Yeah.
And so that's a whole other ball of wax because you need to learn how to cook with cooking in glass
Yeah.
versus cooking in tin
Yeah.
is apples and oranges, right?
It is stressful because with glass, you can actually see how the crust is baking. And when you have it in the tin, you can't.
I'm
see
guessing
that.
the surface area heats differently then too, right?
Yeah. Well, I bake mine. Even though it's in the tin, I still put it in the glass dish so that it still heats it nicely.
So, okay, so I'm thinking of things I've baked in a glass dish. I'm always looking at them just from the top down. Are you like crouching way down to actually like see in through the glass? Really?
Well, yeah, like on the sides to see like how it's.
Nope, I'm always looking down. Just always looking down.
Well, now you can change your perspective. You can look.
It's not. Nope.
Nope.
Because you just moved into a new house, what were the kitchen requirements you had for the whatever house you were going to move into? Like, what do you require to go, yes, this is a good laboratory for me?
Just space. Having like counter space. Like our countertops are so much bigger because the old house, it wasn't as deep of a counter space, and we had like a
Get right on top
cabinet.
of the microphone.
Sorry.
Right there. That's right.
Thank you.
Mhm.
See, I told you. I was like, I'm going to mess this up
That's
with
fine.
the microphone. The cabinets hung over a lot of the countertops, so rolling out pie dough, I'd have to like make sure I was over, not anyway. So yeah, a lot of counter space. But for Sugarplum, for making lots of baked goods, I use a commercial kitchen.
Okay.
So I don't
Which
have
one
to.
are you using?
I use Trollwood.
Trollwood?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I have noticed that has become the new norm for places that have a commercial kitchen
Mm-hmm.
space. Square One, like I'm amazed by their facility.
Yeah.
And it's great because that's all they are is a place for rent. So
Yep.
you can come in and you can use it and
Yep.
you can make your gumbo or you can make your pastry, whatever it is. Are you making breads or only like the sweet, desserty, breakfasty things?
No, I don't make breads. That's not as interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
So since I don't love that as much, I won't put as much of my time into it. But I do want to make. I make some savory things
Such
as well. Well, I was talking about. Jeff talked about Creative Mornings when he was here. So I do the baking for Creative Mornings so that when people show up, they have breakfast for the speaker talk. And I think next month I want to make a galette. So you had the galette at our ensemble meeting. It was peach and blueberry, and you pretty much roll out the pie crust,
yeah.
put the filling, and just kind of fold in the ends so that it's completely open and the ends are just folded.
Those are good.
I want to do a savory one of those with like sausage and
Oh my God.
Yeah.
sausage and eggs and
Yes.
cheese. Yeah.
Yes,
So,
please.
I know that I've gone to a lot of fundraisers that feature Sugarplum. Off the top of my head, I really liked the one you did at FMCT for their cocktail,
Yeah.
their martini cocktail.
Yep.
Shaken, not stirred. That's what they called it.
Yeah.
When somebody calls you, do you have recommendations or do you ask a little bit about the event and say like, oh, okay, like I can match these things up for you?
Yeah. Well, it depends on like how do you want people to eat the food? Like how portable do you want it to be? Like for that, I made macarons and I made these little gem cakes, which are like cake pops, but they're formed in a candy mold so that they have a really pretty shape.
They're
and
gorgeous. And
you.
like when you bit into them, you're like, what is this? Like, is this going to crunch? Is it like, is it going to be a hard thing or is it going to be soft? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ate a lot of those, especially
Good.
once I started downing those martinis. And then I was talking to Jeff and Crystal and did you break the glass?
You broke the glass.
I did not break the glass. In fact, I remember being like, I'm stepping away from this because I'm going to get blamed for
Did
it.
I break the glass?
Jeff did. We're going to blame Jeff right here now.
Deal.
But I remember because I was like, I'm not even going to go get like the mop because that implies that there's guilt. But then you are great because you're like, oh, I'm just going to go get the broom.
Yeah.
I know where they keep
She has
it.
kids. Like she's
Yeah,
like
I'm
used to cleaning up after children.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was an interesting thing because they had like a bridge mix that was in these martini
Yeah.
glasses, and I ran out of bridge mix at my table. And I was like, I'm just going to go steal one from another table. So I put an empty glass on one table and brought a new one over. And then people sat at that table and they were like, why is there an empty glass here? And I crunch. I don't know.
JJ's
I don't know,
fault.
guys.
Unrelated,
And then they came around and filled them all from like a Costco size thing.
unrelated question. Is anyone going to drink that coffee?
No, I got
No.
you too.
Oh, awesome.
Here, I'm
Crystal,
going
could
to pass it to you.
Yes, please. Thank you.
coffee this morning is brought to you
JJ
by the Mick Cafe.
JJ hooked me up with coffee big time. And,
I knew it was an early day. We're recording this early on a Sunday morning, which is important to note because I feel like I started it on a real low level.
Well, and we, obviously at JJ Meets World, we have no problem asking someone who has tons of free time like Crystal to give up some of that free time to spend with us. I mean, she could be doing something lame like hanging out with her kids, taking care of stuff, baking stuff for her business, working on lines for a player, anything else she does for her business.
Lame.
But instead, she's here with us on a Sunday morning, bringing us treats.
I know.
Well, so my daughter had her birthday party yesterday. So we had four.
Happy birthday. Or her birthday?
Yeah, well, her birthday's on Tuesday.
Gotcha.
But we had the party yesterday.
Happy birthday, Crystal's daughter.
Yeah, Olivia.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Olivia.
So we had 4 9-year-old girls stay over last night.
What were they doing? What are 9-year-old girls doing these days?
They built a box fort.
What?
Because we have so many boxes from moving. They each had like their own room. They have a gaming room. Jeff and I have this little Cubert game, like mini arcade game. And they're like, we're going to put that in the gaming room. And they put treats. It's amazing. It's going to be a pain to clean up, but so cool. So for hours, they were cutting cardboard boxes and like duct taping and drawing.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
You know what I did like at a 9th birthday party? We went to Sparks. Did anyone ever go to Sparks?
No.
Yeah.
What is
It's
that?
what Tailgaters is now, which is like a sports bar. But
Yeah.
at the time, it was it had like 4 bumper cars in it, a small arcade, and you can get burgers.
It was JR's before it was Sparks, wasn't it?
It was.
And wasn't it
Which
connect?
technically, it wasn't just it was Juniors is what it was supposed to be called.
Oh, but we all called it JR's. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Let me finish my thought, though.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of fun to think of Jeff having to deal with like these 9-year-old girls waking up and wanting breakfast this morning. I'm curious to see how that goes.
Does he have conversations with your children like he'd have with just other people? Because I can't imagine Jeff changing his like vocal quality to the way I like, hey kids, how's it going? That's really cool. But I imagine Jeff just maintains his same Jeffness when he's talking to children or the elderly.
The elderly. No, he does change it a little bit. Like he's like really caring and.
Well, I mean, it's not that he's not caring in general,
Right.
but
No,
Does his vocal range go up a little bit?
yeah, hey,
a little bit. Yeah.
guys. Hey,
why
bud.
do we do that with children?
I
It's
don't
supposed to
know.
be soothing. We do it with animals too.
Yes, I do.
Like baby talk with animals.
Yeah.
Birds.
Do you think they actually acknowledge that?
Mine do.
Do they?
Oh, they love it.
They do. No, animals do respond to like the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Because you could tell a dog, you could say really mean things to a dog. But if you say it in a really nice tone, they think you're saying nice
Who
things.
pooped on the carpet? Who pooped on the carpet? Who pooped on the carpet?
Juno knows a couple of words that I don't have to give a specific vocal tone to. Outside, walk, cuddling.
Cops.
Yeah, or cuddle. She knows cuddle. She doesn't know cops, but she knows cuddle. So whenever she's begging for something, I'll go through the words that she knows. And then she'll give me some kind of a sign when I hit the word that she's looking for me to say. Either her ears will perk up or she'll snap her mouth real quick. And oftentimes in the morning, it's cuddle because she wants to sit on the couch and cuddle.
I have a poodle who he runs a show in our house. Smallest animal in the house, but he runs a show. And he loves to dance. So like if I'm getting ready in the morning and I start to dance, and we're talking like even just little things like I'm tapping
Like
my
you're
foot.
doing right now. You're just kind of moving your shoulders.
He gets excited. And he starts to like wiggle a lot with it. And he wiggles his butt so violently that starts to be what leads his body around because his like the front end's like, I'm not in control anymore. Hey, speaking of kids' birthdays, you made a pretty epic dinosaur cake when we were doing Hand to God. Like it was a volcano.
The volcano cake?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome. Did you make a specialty cake for this last birthday?
No. Well, my kids have now said that they don't like cake. I love decorating cakes.
Wait.
You've ruined your children?
Rewind. Say that again.
They don't like cake.
Probably
made a
They
point of-
especially don't like frosting. Olivia kind of likes my homemade chocolate frosting. But I mean, they used to say we don't like pie, and now they're coming around to when I make these. They're like,
to you?
Well, I imagine it's because they've had so much of it. I mean, they're the number one guinea pigs, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So This year, Olivia, she wanted Nutella macarons. So I made her Nutella macarons.
Oh, okay. It's not like, Mom, I want carrots.
No.
They just want different confections.
I want carrots.
And like
Mom, I
last
want
year,
carrots.
last year Olivia wanted, so I made her like a 3-tiered. Each tier had like a chocolate and a vanilla layer, and then it was just covered with like whipped cream, but like made to look really
Your
nice.
kids don't know how good they got
It was like a naked cake, and then there was berries, strawberries and blueberries around it.
Are you making your own whipped cream?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I love a homemade whipped cream.
So good.
Do you have any tips on that for people? First of all, if you've never made whipped cream, it is one of the easiest things to make.
I would say add a little bit of vanilla and powdered sugar. A little bit of powdered sugar.
So I do.
Yeah.
Do you know what's weird? So outside of the Midwest, people call it confectioner's sugar.
Yes.
Isn't that weird? We call it powdered sugar, but they call it confectioner's sugar. Hot dish and casserole. When I bake at home, which is seldom because I don't understand the process of the drying or the cooling rack.
What do you mean? What don't you understand?
I'll make cookies, right?
Yeah.
And I'll think, okay, I take the cookies out and I immediately have to get them over to the cooling
Depends
rack.
on the cookie.
Exactly. And I have so most of my cookies look like this. The first half of them are all squished up because I've put the spatula underneath and it's kind of drug it to the point. You know when you're pushing snow and you get to that point of where the snow is actually then pushing the other snow, but you've got to get that clumped up stuff in the actual well of your shovel. That's what happens every time I make cookies. Sugar cookies, chocolate chip cookies, it doesn't matter. So what's the key here?
Well, you let them cool a little bit on the pan.
But then what's the point of the cooling rack? Why don't they just build the rack into the pan where I can pick it up?
Okay, so this is what I do. So I have my cooling racks set up. In a commercial kitchen, it's different because then they just go to a separate area and just cool on the pan. But I put the hot pan on the cooling rack so that the hot on the bottom of the pan can still escape.
I usually put it up. We've got a glass cooktop, and that's usually where I put it because I don't want to put it right on the counter. So I suppose I'm just keeping the heat there.
Yeah. Or if you use
interesting.
parchment paper, you can just pull the parchment paper and the cookies off and put those right on the cooling rack.
Have you ever written on your parchment paper and been like, I'm gonna put a declaration on here while I'm at it?
I have not.
You're missing out. What's the difference between parchment paper and wax paper?
Oh, wax paper has the wax coating.
So is
On the
it
top.
I can't cook with wax paper?
Don't do that.
Okay. Now
It'll melt.
I do know that you're allowed, like if you get candle wax on like your clothing, you can use wax paper and an iron, right? Is that something that's a thing?
I
You ever
don't
heard of
know.
that trick?
No.
I'll have to look. That'll be for another podcast. Ironing with wax paper.
Wait, it gets the wax off? That's what you're saying?
So like you heat it up and like the wax binds to the wax on the paper, and so you can lift it off. I believe I did that on a carpet once when my parents were out of town for
Hey,
the
I was
weekend.
gonna say using a lot of candles, getting on your clothes all the time.
Are
you tired of getting candle wax on your T-shirt?
I was trying to be romantic,
Oh.
and if a memory serves, I also spilt some wine.
Unless you're a monk or a nun, I can't see why you'd be getting candelabra wax on you all the time.
Candelabra?
Yeah, I'm imagining that's what he's
specific.
yeah,
using.
they were the long candles. They like the long like dinner candles.
You were like, Jill,
romantic candles.
Jill, I hope you enjoyed the dinner, and now upstairs for lovemaking, and you pick the candelabra off the table and lead her
It
upstairs.
makes me think of Phantom of the Opera.
Exactly.
Have the half mask on.
It's more like the Phantom of the family room downstairs.
Are you still
I'll even
excited
put
that
the
you're
dogs
engaged?
outside.
I am
Do you
so
still
excited.
think about it and just get like, I'm
Although
engaged?
I was walking the dogs last night and I ran into a family member and he was like, "Hey, congratulations!" And I was like, "For what? I'm not doing anything right now." And he goes, "For your engagement." And it took me a second to go like, "Oh yeah, I forgot." I will tell you this: planning
It's
a
a good
wedding.
thing Jill doesn't listen to this shit.
I know, right? Planning a wedding is a nightmare. There's so many things that don't matter. And Jill and I both acknowledge the fact while we're fighting about it that it doesn't matter, but it still keeps us screaming at each other.
Yeah.
And then having a little bit of resentment. And so,
Here's So I've been married before. And so I remember what that process was like, planning the wedding. And it's nice now having done it the first time, being able to be like, okay, yeah, that actually doesn't matter. So, Jeff and I, we discuss our future. So discussing things related to weddings, it's kind of like, okay, I can remind myself not to get so worked up about certain things.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and my whole bend on this thing is I don't want this event to seem like every other wedding. Otherwise,
Exactly.
I would reserve a room at the Hilton and have chicken cutlet and it, it feels just, and get Dude Walker's DJ service.
Yeah.
It would seem just like every other wedding. And so maybe you'll enjoy this. So we booked our venue and the venue itself is not actually built yet. So when we went out to tour it, it's just a concrete slab.
And this is not an event that's happening next year.
No, we are 90 days away from this wedding.
Really?
Yeah, it's at the end of October.
Whoa.
And so but Jill was like, if we do not book this place, we are not going to end up getting married. You're going to put this off till spring, and then you're going to have something that happens. You're going to put it off from there and put it off from there. And we've got, my best man works in the oil field 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So that dictates a little bit of the date.
Mm-hmm.
And then she has family who don't travel during the winter, nor would they like to come to North Dakota during the winter, especially.
I
So
don't blame them.
it would, if we didn't do it now, it'd be pushed off to next summer.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows what's going to happen. She's waited 12 years to get married already.
Right.
So, but it's been interesting because it's quickly Jill and I found out that we are totally different people when it comes to what we think of when we think of a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
So I dictated that I would like to wear a kilt in my family's tartan. Very Scottish, the Gordons. And she was like, why? I said, well, because
We're not both wearing dresses, JJ.
well, her thing was she had already chosen the dress, and she doesn't want the dress color to conflict with the tartan. And I was like, I understand what you're saying, but literally, this is my half of this. Like, let me dictate my half, bitch.
Am I
quote
editing
Tucker,
that one out?
No, to quote Tucker.
That one's staying in? All right, that one's staying in.
boy.
It is. Like I said, she doesn't listen to the podcast, so she has no idea. She didn't even listen to AM radio until I got a job there, and the only time she does is because I will talk about her on my regular show, and then people will call her and be like, "Hey, listen, I'm sorry that you got sick from eating pizza yesterday," and she goes, "What? Where did you hear that?"
The following episode after this, it's going to be like, it's going to start with JJ going, so, my October just opened up.
Yeah, right?
Said he went gone. So apparently Jill decided to start listening to the show.
My next episode will feature someone from Match.com, and we'll just go from there.
I want to see, here's how I'm going to find out if my girlfriend listens, which I know she doesn't, but black cats are stupid. Who would want a black cat? They're stupid. All right, let's see what happens after that one.
Do you want to see if Jeff listens to your episode?
He will.
He will. Do you want to put like something out there like, Jeff, the password is. I think that's kind of the fun, because I don't assume that everyone listens to every single episode of this show, but I've had strangers come up to me on the street who've referenced something from an episode, and my first thought is like, how did you? Oh yeah, that's right. We put these podcasts out there in the world. Well, because right now it feels like we're just having a conversation.
Yeah.
But millions of people will listen to this.
Millions.
Especially after Tucker goes on some kind of crime spree.
We're talking about like in the whole of time. Like these podcasts will be around for a long time. So ostensibly there could be millions of people who end up listening to this. Your descendants.
Future.
Yeah, the future CEO of Sugarplum, who's like your great great granddaughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you want to do that full time if you had the opportunity? I mean, it's tough because owning your own business is, there's a lot that goes into it.
I don't think I would love the business side of it. I have a really great job right now that is just awesome. So it would be hard to walk away from that.
Especially when you got kids, right?
Yeah,
I mean, there's
and-
just so much tied up in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like I get really good health insurance from my job, so that's great.
Health insurance is primo.
Yes.
I'm missing that right now.
I mean, there are moments where I'm like, oh man, if I could just bake all day, I'd have so much time to experiment and try different flavor combinations and perfect this and perfect that. That'd be fun. But
Do you have customized license plates yet? It's
No.
like SGRPLUM.
nope,
You should see if that's available.
probably won't.
No, okay, okay. Not all ideas are winners. Not all ideas are winners.
They could be a winner for somebody else.
Now I know what Jeff feels like, throwing out these gems of names and be like, nope.
I bet
not
she
gonna
wasn't like.
happen.
I bet she wasn't like. No. I bet she was like stupid. Hate that one. Stupid.
Well, maybe
Did he
not
say
quite.
Sugarplum? Like, did he raise his voice a little bit? And then that's what got you to like, how about Sugarplum?
I like to think of it like that's what his nickname for Crystal has been. And he's like,
that'd be sweet.
I don't know, Sugar Plum. I don't know what we're gonna do. I mean, I gave you some of the best names. Bear Scat was taken, and
Jeff's Kitchen, you didn't like that?
yeah,
Jeff's
and
Kitchen.
I guess Cheerios is just out. So I don't know what to do, Sugar Plum. I'd like to make a request to bite into one of these right now because
Yep.
I'm
Yeah,
starving.
let's do
Yep.
this thing.
All right, I'm gonna go for one of the. You said this was rhubarb, strawberry, and basil.
Yep.
I'm going for one of these bad
That's
boys.
what I would like to try as well.
All right.
So this is like your own version of a Pop-Tart.
Yeah.
Right?
Sometimes I'll put like a glaze on top.
Yeah, what are you glazing it with?
It depends. If I made a blueberry mint, I'd put like a lemon glaze on
Oh,
top.
that's good.
What are your feelings? Okay, so let's talk about frosting real quick too.
Yeah.
So I love a good homemade frosting.
Yeah.
I love how you can kind of taste the sugar in a homemade frosting. But I think that whipped topping that they try and pass off as frosting is the biggest bullshit.
Oh, like the stuff in grocery stores?
Yeah,
And
that
it just,
tastes plasticky.
I think I'm assuming that they use like a lot of shortening, and shortening gives it like that meh texture. Do you know what I'm talking
awful.
about? Yeah, so bad.
No,
because
I mean, this is good, but the thing I'm eating is delicious.
This is really good.
yay!
Where are you
This is
getting your
really good.
rhubarb?
Jeff's aunt.
Has just a ton of it?
Yeah.
Because Rachel Gaynor can also hook you up with
Yeah.
shit tons of rhubarb.
And we just bought a freezer, not a huge freezer, but a freezer so I can buy
Now
things
I
in
don't.
bulk.
Now I don't know if it's because you said basil, and that's why I feel like I'm tasting it. But I feel like I taste
Good.
the difference the basil makes, and it's amazing.
Awesome.
I'm
How
digging
did
it.
you get it to so like? Here's what I don't understand is this is the pastry itself is evenly cooked everywhere. Is that difficult? I mean, what are you cooking something like this little mini Pop-Tart on? Just a pan or
Yeah.
yeah?
Baking sheet. Yeah.
Is your baking sheet is it flat or does it have like the ridges on it?
Nope, it's flat.
Yeah, is that
Flat
a key
and
to
then
you?
parchment paper. And that's it. Yeah.
Not wax paper.
No wax paper.
You should try it. You just never know.
I should try just to see what happens. They probably smoke.
Oh
and,
yeah.
like start my house on fire.
People like smoked
Maybe
stuff.
I won't try it.
Smoked macaroons.
What are
But it's good to put them in the fridge after you put them together.
yeah?
Put the unbaked pastry in the fridge
So you're-
so that when it bakes, the butter's still kind of cold, so it doesn't just like melt.
I'm gonna hit this scone while this coffee's still hot.
Yeah. They're a couple days old,
That's fine.
so I think they'll still be just as good.
Oh yeah.
I
Scones
watched
are
Tucker.
tough.
Yeah, I watched Tucker eat some garbage yesterday, so
Yeah,
he'll
what
eat
did I eat
anything.
yesterday? I ate
What was it?
pancakes yesterday.
It was garbage pancakes. So it was hard. I mean,
frying
it was
pan
like
pancakes.
they were in the dumpster
I feel like I'm eating a pizza almost.
because it's nice and big. And see how you're dunking it like that?
I really like these because they have cinnamon. I add a little extra cinnamon. I don't know if you can taste the cinnamon.
can.
I can.
So are you a believer in not all vanillas are made the same? Because there's imitation vanilla. There's the like pure vanilla extract. People say there's something magical about like the vanilla from like Mexico or the Dominican because it's made from sugar cane?
I haven't tested different vanillas.
Yeah.
I'd like to. I mean, I would say they're not all made the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, higher quality.
So
Vanilla's going to
are you
taste better.
brand loyal to some stuff? There's just things that are like, I'm not going to, or it's whatever is on sale and you'll make it work?
No, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be on sale, but I do like trying different brands.
There's never
though-
like a customer who's like, I want you to use Philadelphia cream cheese specifically.
And I'd say, okay, I will use Philadelphia cream cheese.
I wonder if Philadelphia cream cheese ever said, like, Philadelphia cream cheese, the city of brotherly cheese. Oh, the looks. The looks. Okay,
I'm just going back to the scone.
If people want to find Sugarplum online, head up to your Facebook page right now and your Instagram.
Facebook and Instagram.
And what's the website? Let's say this is 2 years down the road. Someone's listening to this. What's the website that is soon to be built?
Pretty sure I haven't been there in a while. I've been so busy. I haven't had a chance to keep working on it. I think it's hellosugarplum.com. Yep. Or you can email me at crystal@hellosugarplum.com.
I'd recommend the Instagram account because that's when you're getting the most visual stuff. You're getting really nice photography of the different things she makes.
But if you want to contact me, it would be email or through Facebook message through my Facebook page.
Which she responds to immediately, I can tell you from experience.
And I meant to follow up.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about that right after this, so it's great.
Great.
All right. So, Crystal, thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Thank you. I want to meet your mom. I want to have your mom on the show now, too.
Hell
That's
yeah.
like a great guest.
We got to get Crystal's mom on.
She'd be great.
She can take us out shooting.
Also, she's a crazy gardener, too.
Really?
Like, crazy. If you drive past, I know you want to wrap things up.
No,
but
that's
her
cool.
house, you know the old Rourke house?
Yeah.
She lives right across the street, and it's the house with like a garden in the front yard.
Okay.
Like all of the rows of beans and like big troughs and
nice.
That's how I'll get my mom to listen. I go, Mom, someone else's mom came on, and she's also a crazy gardening lady.
yeah.
What?
My mom will be all over that.
And then she'll want to be on then?
She'll listen.
We got to get Maureen on the show.
Yeah.
Be fun.
She's not in
Just have,
town right now.
Like
A
a whole bunch
Like
of moms.
the mom.
Let's get every
version.
single guest's mom on the show.
Yeah.
That sounds like a fun show for other moms to listen to. I think so.
Moms love listening to moms.
But if we do that, we got to open my daycare that I want to open.
Okay.
It's called
Oh,
the
no.
Little Stinkers Day Camp. And I know the logo is going to be a little skunk wearing a backpack. Little Stinkers Day Camp, brought to you by JJ Meets World. Crystal, thanks for coming on.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
JJ Meets World.
Grab a pencil or a pen or open up the note part of your phone. www.patreon.com/JJ Meets World. Folks, that's the easiest way to donate to this podcast. We provide it to you for free, but there are costs associated with creating this. Help us defray some of those costs so we can continue making JJ Meets World. Patreon.com/JJ Meets World. It's an easy way to give us $1 here and there, or maybe you want to set up an ongoing donation. Every little bit helps. Don't get a cup of coffee tomorrow. It's that simple. Or bring in all those bottles that your wife has been bothering you about that you're keeping in the shed. I don't care if it feels nostalgic. Recycle those and give us the money for that. If you really want us to show up and recycle them for you, we will. That will be a duty handed down to Tucker. By the way, speaking of duties, it's your duty to go on iTunes or wherever you consume the podcast that you love and give us a great rating for JJ Meets World. We really appreciate it. It goes a long way. If you want to catch up on old episodes, subscribe. Download the old ones. Listen to the new ones. You can also go to jjmeetsworld.com and stream anything you want off of there. Speaking of streaming, my stream buddy Tucker Lucas is the producer of JJ Meets World. He produces every single episode of this podcast. And if you want to see what he's up to these days, you can go to his website, moonbasemaria.com. Moon is in the moon, base as in all your base belong to us, Maria as in that woman from Sesame Street. If you want to see what I am up to, you can go to linebenders.com. Your host with the most posts things like my email address there where you can find me. There's also a physical mailing address, which I appreciate the things you're sending me, but please stop. On my way here today, I saw a couple of kids, and one of them was skateboarding and one of them was riding a bike. And I thought to myself, I wonder which one is the leader, because I would assume the one with the skateboard, but really the one with the bike was bigger and leading the pack. So afterwards, I'm going to go and try and find them and see if they need a podcaster.